Hello and welcome to Tengi Talks TV and Movies. I'm Tengi. Just when you thought you'd seen the last of my Goodies reviews, we're back to review the Goodies 2019 audio adventure, The Big Ben Theory. As a completist, I feel like I can't leave this adventure out of my review of the Goodies oeuvre. So let's check out The Big Ben Theory. The Big Ben Theory was recorded by Audible Studios in 2019. It stars the Goodies, Brooke-Taylor, Graeme Garden and Bill Oddie, plus Joanna Lumley, with a fantastic supporting cast including John Culshaw, Kate Harbour, Philip Pope and Barnaby Eaton-Jones. The script is by Gareth Gwynn and John Luke Roberts, with Graeme Garden and Bill Oddie, from an original story by Barnaby Eaton-Jones. Although this was recorded in 2019, it does feel like it could have been ripped from today's headlines, because the story is about the British government being so enmeshed in scandal that all the MPs have to resign, and an old emergency Bill and an emergency Tim and emergency Graeme are enacted to make the Goodies the new government, and the results of this are exactly as much fun as you would expect. Now, I will admit I felt a kind of sense of nervousness going into this because, it's so difficult to take a beloved show, a beloved format, and transpose that into a new medium. But as soon as I heard the chaps back together again, I realised that all that was great about the Goodies had been recaptured here, because what was so great about the Goodies were the characters themselves, the performers. It's the chaps and their chemistry which underpins the jokes and the situations. For me, that's what the magic always was, and it is still very much in evidence in this recording. What struck me so forcefully and what amazed me on listening to this is the sense we get of the chaps suddenly reappearing before us at full strength. These three chaps that we all love so much reappear before us every bit as vivid as when we last saw them. You can almost see the sparkle of Tim's shiny shoes. You can almost smell the leather of Graeme's elbow and knee patches. You can just about hear the jingle of Bill's pendant. They sound every bit as dynamic, as wry and cheeky as they ever did. Time has done nothing to diminish the impact of this trio in the Big Ben Theory. And the weirdly emotional impact of this is something I had not anticipated at all. It's a double-edged sword, because listening to this, everything you love about the Goodies is right here, and at the same time, it really made me realise how much I have missed them. Maybe this sounds a bit silly, and I am quite a sentimental person, but as much as I love this, as much as I laughed at it, it did also make me quite teary at times, and I had that sense it was like being reunited with a long-lost relative and you haven't realised how much you miss them until you see them again. The beauty of the Big Ben Theory is that it does evoke classic Goodies episodes like politics, while still being very contemporary and bringing in a lot of current references. And what I thought was so astonishing, so very clever about bringing in so many topical references, is it does create this extraordinary impression that the Goodies as characters never really went away. What you feel listening to this adventure is that the Goodies were not frozen in time in the 70s or 80s. It's almost like they've been with us all the time, just out of sight. They are still around and they are still very much aware of the state of the world. So many highlights in this very fun audio adventure. Beyond the fantastic opening jokes, what startled me in this was Bill's bluesy acoustic rendering of the Goodies theme, which I have to admit brought a tear to my eye, maybe more than one. I really wasn't expecting the emotional impact of hearing Bill sing again. And Bill's poignant updating of the funky gibbon really did make me laugh out loud. It was so wonderful to hear Bill singing. I think Bill's songs are worth the price of admission alone, but this episode has a lot more to offer than that. I love the idea that the goodies have been living in retirement at the Museum of Film and Television. This was just wonderful. Tim's patriotic speech was so fantastic to hear that again, and yes, it got me teary again. I also really loved the wig segment, and you could really visualise Graeme doing his puppetry with this wig. The material about Russia's interference in the politics of other countries has only become more topical and more relevant in the 3 years since this was recorded. The ad parodies are fantastic. I enjoyed them so much. And the jokes about The Good Life really made me howl. The Good Life is one of those shows I watched a couple of times during the pandemic. I think The Good Life became a lot of people's comfort show during the pandemic. One thing I really enjoyed and appreciated in this audio adventure was the cheeky references to some of the conventions of the Goodies TV show, like the speeded up action footage. There is a sense of nostalgia in this audio adventure, but it's not a sort of soppy one, despite what I'm saying about how emotional the episode made me. They're looking back with affection, but also with a really strong sense of humour, as you would expect. There really is so much to enjoy in this fantastically entertaining and buoyant 55-minute adventure. Great gags, great performances, not only from the chaps, but also from the wonderful Joanna Lumley as the guest villain. Joanna Lumley fits in so beautifully as the guest villain, and it did make me think of some of the great female guest baddies in the goodies, like the wonderful Joan Sims. But you know, what I love beyond any of the great gags in this show was that emotional sense it gave me that these characters are still with us, that they are still around, that they've never left us. And I've been trying to think of any other show or movie that has given this same effect. Even as an inveterate Doctor Who obsessive, when the new Doctor Who series started, even that didn't have the same impact that this had on me. It didn't create that same feeling that the character hadn't really gone away at all, but was still around, in the way that this audio adventure does. I know it might sound a bit silly or overly sentimental to some people, but I found this just such a lovely and unexpected dimension to this audio adventure. I had hoped that this audio adventure would be funny, and of course it was. It was brilliantly funny. But I had never expected that it would be moving in the way I found it to be. And when you hear how fantastically well the goodies translates into this audio form, it made me wish that some company like Big Finish had taken up this idea years ago, like they have with the extended worlds of Doctor Who and Blake 7 and the audio adventures they've created for those worlds. Naturally, this might not have been what the chaps themselves wanted, as I know they all had different projects and other interests that they moved on with after the goodies. But the Big Ben theory really is the most tantalising glimpse of how an audio series of adventures might have developed. What I understand is that when this was released, it was received so well that Audible Studios actually commissioned a series, but tragically with the passing of Tim Brooke-Taylor, the series went no further. And listening to this now, it really is very bittersweet because, of course, Tim is no longer with us, very much missed by fans all around the world. But I think if you are a Goodies fan, you will definitely find that underlying emotional dimension here, just like I did. And it does add a lot to the enjoyment of this episode. And the wonderful notion that this episode creates, that the Goodies have just been continuing their adventures out of sight, is such a lovely one to take away from this. The recent Goodies novelisation, Avengers Dissemble by Barnaby Eaton-Jones, I think suggests yet another way that these characters can live on as we all so much want them to. So personally, I am hoping for more Goodies adventures in the future, whatever form they might take. In short, I would highly recommend the Audible adventure, The Big Ben Theory, if you are eager for more Goodies fun. And let's face it, who isn't? I really enjoyed this so much, and in ways that I hadn't anticipated at all. It's topical, it's witty, it's cheeky, it's just so much fun, and it is such a delight to hear the chaps reunited and in such wonderful form. Not stuck in the past, but wonderfully with us in the present. I think that's a lovely gift that they've given to Goodies fans everywhere. The Big Ben Theory is available from Audible, and I would highly recommend you seek it out. If you've enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.